Let me paint a picture for you. You're sitting at your computer, looking at your Steam library, asking yourself, what should I play? You stare at the screen blankly for maybe 5-10 minutes. You finally pick a game, load into it, and by the time the game has actually loaded, you don't feel like playing anymore. Does that feel familiar? Why in 2024 is gamer burnout so bad that it feels like we have nothing to play? Despite owning hundreds of games from Steam sales that we've never even downloaded, why isn't gaming good anymore? Today we're going to explore just that. We're going to explore the evolution of games, gamers, and gaming, or lack thereof in recent times. And we're also going to look at why, despite over 10,000 games being added to Steam last year, none of them have come close to the quality or fun factor that games used to bring to the table not too long ago. So before we can look at the current epidemic of gamer burnout, we need to properly understand and define gamer burnout, and then take a look at the major factors that cause it among gamers, which should help us really understand why in 2024 it's so prevalent. First, let's ask ourselves, what is gamer burnout really? Gamer burnout, much like any other type of burnout, is when you get sick and tired of gaming. This can often cause lack of interest in gaming, frustration with gaming. When you finally do find a game to play, it just doesn't meet your expectations. And sometimes burnout can lead to a lack of productivity in other aspects of a gamer's life. Many gamers, myself included, put aside a certain amount of time during the day to play games. Gamer burnout can cause people who are very focused on schedules to start running out of time during the day. Some people use this time to refresh themselves and take a much needed break from the real world. But if that break never really starts, it also never really ends. People end up scrolling through their library, looking at all the games they could play but not feel like it, and then when their allotted time is up, they either don't realize and keep looking blankly at their screen, or they return to the work they were doing without feeling refreshed, and their productivity starts to suffer. But how can that happen? How can something like gaming start to have an impact on someone's life, especially when it's something they used to enjoy doing? Well, now that we understand gamer burnout and the impact it has, let's take a look at what's been happening to gamers and the gaming industry in recent years that's allowed this burnout to take a hold of gamers worldwide. Over the last 10 or so years, think of the games that really defined your gaming experience. Mine was Skyrim. I still play and mod that game to this day. For me, that game was a masterpiece, and I'd do anything to go back and play it again for the first time. But now there just seems to be a lack of innovation in the post-COVID world of gaming. Call of Duty is still producing the same game with a few differences. Fortnite is still going. Warzone, still going. The gaming industry has hardly added any real premium new titles to this landscape, and gamers are getting bored. They're getting sick of playing the same 5-year-old game over and over again. Now this does happen, games become super popular and dominate the market share for a good chunk of a decade, but this was made exponentially worse thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic saw many gamers out of a job, and suddenly with a whole lot of time to play games. Now, this is any gamer's dream, to be able to stay home and play games all day. Who wouldn't love that? But because of lockdowns, these days of gaming all day became old and stale. People became overexposed to gaming. Something that was usually a few hours a day quickly became something they did for most of their days for months at a time. This was not good for the gaming community. Despite the rise in player numbers, this eventually led to one of the biggest burnouts in gaming history. With thousands of hours of playtime in most of the games that had come out before the pandemic, gamers were hungry for more games. But no new games were able to sate that appetite. They just ended up playing more of the games they had already sunk hours into just a few years ago. This overexposure combined with the repetitive nature of video games, especially the multiplayer games like Fortnite and Call of Duty that people were playing during the stay-at-home periods. That created a perfect storm for gamers to put down their controllers even years after the pandemic had ended. Gaming over the last few years hasn't come far. We've had no new console generations, and the games that have been released have left gamers with a few choices. Firstly, the kind of game they want to play. Do they want to play a multiplayer, a co-op, or a solo? Do they want to level their character in a multiplayer game and have something to show for the few hours of game time they put in? Or do they want to be immersed in a single player world? These choices may be easy for those who don't play games as often and they know exactly what game they want to play. For others, it could leave them stuck and in limbo while they decide where they want to spend their few free hours, which ultimately lessens the time they get to relax. And for those who are extremely indecisive, it leaves them not picking a game for so long, there isn't much time or any time left to play. Once they've picked the type of game they want to play, they have to decide if they want to play a new game that they've only just picked up but they might not enjoy, or play a game they've had in their library for a while because they know they'll enjoy it. Again, for some, this might be easy. Play a new game. We need new games in 2024 that aren't those same old ones that everyone is playing. But that's the problem. Everyone is playing those old games, meaning multiplayer games that aren't getting love from other gamers. You might spend more time searching for a match than actually playing the game, and that'll just slowly tick down and waste your free time. Because of the gaming industry's latest track record with games that fail to meet expectations and fail miserably, people stick to playing the games they know meet their expectations. If the gamer was to pick a single-player story-driven game, they have to decide if they're in the environment and have enough time to really get immersed in the story and the world that has been created. The lackluster evolution of the gaming space in the last few years has seen new games flop and old live service games like Destiny 2, Fortnite, Call of Duty Warzone thrive because of their hold they were able to create over the pandemic period. Usually, these sorts of games would lose their grip because of the newer games that offer similar features, maybe look a bit better or play a bit better because they've had time to learn from those games. But this never happened. New battle royales, shooter MMO lights, and even single player games have just failed to make any kind of mark or capture any kind of audience away from these big players. When you're sitting there staring at your library thinking you have nothing to play, the lack of evolution in gaming is one of the major factors to start blaming. Finally, let's discuss the diminishing joy of gaming. With all of these live service games, grindy looters, and limited time cosmetics, gaming has turned into a chore rather than a hobby. Gamers are encouraged to log in every day to complete a few menial daily quests, which, while simple, can take a few games to complete. And if they don't, they could miss out on XP, limited time cosmetics, or even items. And these items could become overpowered in later patches, leaving the gamer out of luck because they didn't want to play that day. This chore-like feeling makes gamers feel like the time they used to look forward to at the end of each day, where they got to pick up whatever game they wanted to play, is shortened because they know they have to go home and play a specific game to complete a few quests before they feel like they're able to play the game they really want to play. This is made even worse by battle passes. Because these passes contain more limited time items, they feel like they have to fully complete it each seasonal reset, which can take a good chunk of hours depending on how good the player is, and if they're able to complete as many daily quests as they can. This effect is also enhanced by players who decide to buy the premium pass, giving a sense of urgency, because they'll miss out on rewards they paid for if they don't complete it in time. Other than these limited time items and daily quests creating the feeling of doing chores, another noticeable trend in gaming recently has been the idea of grinding. Whether that grinding is to obtain a special weapon, to level up to the same level as your friends, or to go through a limited time activity, the idea of grinding puts the idea in players' heads that they need to play for hours on end to obtain these items or levels, or they won't be as strong as their friends. Or even worse, won't be strong enough to take on more activities and be stuck doing the same ones over and over again. And of course, this is again made worse by limited time events, because they'll need to try and find time in their day, not only to grind, but to grind before everything goes away. It's no wonder games with a focus on grinding like Destiny 2, Diablo IV, Elder Scrolls Online, Even Fortnite and Overwatch 2 have significantly contributed to the burnout of gamers. The landscape of gaming in 2024 feels like a far cry from the excitement and innovation that once defined the industry. Gamer burnout has become such a common issue, driven by a combination of repetitive gameplay, a lack of new and engaging titles, and the overwhelming presence of a grindy, chore-like tasks that diminish the joy we once found in our favorite pastimes. The pandemic accelerated these issues, creating an environment where gamers were left with little to do but replay the same game until the spark of excitement had dimmed. As we move forward, it's crucial for the gaming industry to recognize these challenges and strive to create better experiences that reignite that passion we all used to have, bringing back the sense of wonder and excitement that has been sorely missed. Gaming should be about exploration, adventure, and most importantly, fun, not a tedious obligation. Until the industry can pivot back to these core values, the burnout that many of us are feeling right now is very unlikely to go away.